Okay.
Because I'll probably be sitting over here asking you questions. Okay, Verde, so basically, anything that you don't want to talk about, you just tell me it's off the table, and that's fine with me.
What are we supposed to talk about today?
Well, a little bit of anything and everything. I want to know a little bit about you and your life. So, let's start with, what year were you born in?
24.
1924?
September the 16th of 24.
And were you born in Kansas?
Mm-hmm. Up here in the little town Riley, about 20 miles west of here.
Have you ever lived anywhere else?
Just a little while down in Arkansas when he was in the service.
That was when Ray was in the service?
Huh? In World War II.
Yeah. When did you guys get married?
In 42.
In 1942?
We were like 6 months of being married, 70 years.
Oh, wow.
We'd have been married 70 years on the 12th month, 12th day of his 12th year.
Oh.
He died in June, so didn't quite make it.
Yeah, I didn't quite make it.
I was 18 and he was 21. Of course, it was during the war, and they rationed gasoline, so we thought we'd get married to save gas. I don't know whether we ever saved any gas or not.
So did you guys come to K-State together, or?
We neither one went to K. Back then, well, my folks couldn't afford it, neither his folks were getting it. Back then, people just didn't, there wasn't anybody in my class that went to college.
Oh, okay.
But there was only about 20 of us. There was about 29 when we started out, but then they took some of that reservation, took quite a few of the kids out.
So did Ray farm, or?
He farmed with his dad for a little while.
Yeah.
And that didn't work out, so then he worked for Vance, Washington for a while, and that was in what's in Tuttle Creek right now. And that was in the winter of 43, and we had snow and snow and snow, and he came home, and in the spring the mud and stuff was so deep. He was a rancher, and he came home one day at noon and he said, "I'm going to town and tell them to put me in 1A." He was tired of wading in that mud.
Yeah.
Which I was very upset at that time, but I'm glad he did. So then
did you stay at home, or did you have a job?
I went with my folks in, and then I worked part-time, different jobs and then when he was down in Arkansas, I went down there, and then of course he was sent overseas quite soon because it was right after the Battle of the Bulge, when it was, he got in on the tail end of that, because when they killed so many, when we nearly lost the war at that time. Mm-hmm. And then when he was overseas, our first daughter was born. And so then when he came back, his dad thought he ought to be a farmer. He had 5 sons, and he thought one ought to be a farmer. And he got stuck, and we lived on the farm for 10 years going backwards. And then we moved to Manhattan in 56, and he went on the police force, and he was there for 25 years. And then at that time he turned 60, and at that time they'd take it out of his wages, but the city wouldn't match it because he was 60. Well, there was no point. So then he went out to the airport for 10 years. And during that time he worked 2 jobs for about 20-some years.
Oh, wow.
And of course, we had 4 daughters, and I did a lot of babysitting and sewing and ironing and cleaning and
everything you could.
They say you get the best education with those kind of jobs, and if you went to college.
That's right.
Because there's no training for that job.
Absolutely. So, what was it like having a husband that was a police officer?
Oh, it was kind of ups and downs. It was pretty good back in those days. I don't know about now, but our oldest daughter, a lot of kids didn't. It upset her that her dad was, because kids, your dad, and didn't like them and stuff. And then their second daughter, which is Raleigh County Treasurer now, well, they started in on her in junior high, and oh, your dad hates me, and so she went home one night, and she asked her dad, "Do you know so and so and so and so?" And he didn't know any of them. She went back to school the next day, and she said, you know, you guys just have a guilty conscience 'cause my dad don't even know you. And that straightened them out, and they never bothered her after that. So, and then the other two, they kind of respected the fact that he was, see, we had 2 daughters, then we had 7 years, and had 2 more. And the rest of them, they kind of respected the fact that he was a policeman. And a lot of mothers used to say if their daughters were in a wreck, they was glad that he covered it because he was so good to them when they were so scared. So.
Oh, that's nice. So you have 4 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Are any of them married?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then you go to the games with. Do you go to the games with your daughters, or do you
Mm-hmm.
go just on your own?
Oh, I go with my daughters.
Yeah.
We went to the girls' basketball games since in the 80s when it was. I don't remember just how we did get started going, but at that time, you could park free, and your senior citizens could go free. Well, then when they had that good winning team year back, whenever it was, with Kinderwecker, and then the next day they started charging. And one daughter asked us what we was going to do. Well, really wasn't that much that free. I said, oh, I don't know. We had to. Well, she said, no. She said, we bought second season tickets, and they was given to us for Christmas, which we could have. And what better Christmas could you have before and after?
That's right. That's right.
And
last night was it last night you got your picture with Willie?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that your first time getting your picture with
Yeah.
Willie? Yeah.
And I'll get a picture of that pretty soon. Because when I see my daughter again, but he was dressed up in these tux last night. And I didn't even realize he was standing there, and Eileen said, you're really dolled up tonight. And he said, yeah, and about that time he put his arm around him. And then Eileen said, wait a minute, I want to get a picture. And she got a real good picture. But then later on, see, I had 2 daughters that was go to the games. And she always looked around. She said, Mother, look at Willie now. Willie had on, I guess there was some kind of a promotion of something that he was at K-State there. I forgot just what Corey said, but he was dressed up for that. Well, then she don't look. He had on jeans, all raggedy down here, and then he had a striped shirt on, kind of beige and green, a T-shirt, and then it had a plaid, long sleeve shirt over the top of that. So that was two extremes.
Yeah,
right. But it was really. Really neat that I got my picture taken with him.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you move to Meadowlark?
3 years ago in January.
And you lived here in town before that in
Yeah.
the house?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We moved to Manhattan in '56, and he was starting having. We was right on Anderson, and he was starting with that dimension, and it was getting to where he couldn't handle that big yard. And we hated terrible to move, but I knew in the beginning that it was better for us to. And then after he was gone when he died, well, to be up here, you're not stuck with the whole house and everything. You have to downsize in and do it. This way we got to do it together, and we had good 2.5 years up here, and he still knew all of us, and he would forget lots of stuff, but I mean, he loved to play cards. In fact, he played dominoes, and he loved to play hand and foot, and but when he fell, well, he hit the back of his head in the parking lot, and we could have taken him to Topeka, and they'd fly him down there and drain that blood off. But they said what his quality of life would be like would be left to be seen, and they suggested just keep him comfortable, and which that's hard a decision to make after that. But I knew we had talked about it before, and he always said if he had a stroke or a heart attack for me not to ever call anybody too soon, because that death is very final, but there's a lot of things that are a lot worse. Mm-hmm. And you see a lot of that around here. And so he had happened on Sunday out in the parking lot there a little before 2, and by 10 o'clock Monday morning, he was gone. So, and
how has your transition been from being married to being single?
oh, there's been times that's been pretty hard, but thank God for my family, and and there's times it gets a different ones. The worst part was he didn't go to a lot of places with me. I mean, like he didn't like grocery stores and he didn't like shopping, but he was always sitting in his chair when I got back, and like if I'd go down to at first he kind of went down to some of the programs down here, but later then he didn't. But then he'd want to play dominoes afterwards. So when he was over with, I'd go up and get him, and going back into the apartment and not seeing him sitting in his chair, it was very hard.
Yeah.
And but a lot of different ones went home with me for a while, which was which was real nice. Mm-hmm. And this is just a good place to be when. And I went to a meeting, we rallied to the senior dinner, and this one guy was talking things that you can do to stay in your own home, but which are some advantages there. But all they do is come in and do some cleaning or do whatever you want, and if you have them, then you have to have them at least 2 hours. And but then when they're gone, you're still there by yourself. I mean, it's expensive up here, but still, you don't have to worry of a house.